Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 6 Part 43 based on novel. So let's start. Majestic mental energy swept out in the sky like a hurricane. Immediately, violent gusts of wind howled over the land unceasingly, creating a dreadful sight. As mental energy continued to surge, storm clouds frantically began to gather in the sky. Meanwhile, lightning swam through the storm clouds like a snake as thunder rumbled violently across the area. Everyone watched this scene in shock. Of course, they were not shocked by the wind-lightning trial. After all, everyone here was fairly skilled, and there were even some of them who specialized in mental energy and could not be more familiar with the wind-lightning trial. As such, instead of being shocked by the wind-lightning trial, they were shocked by Lindorn's actions. The wind-lightning trial and Nirvana tribulation together. Even a symbol master would search for a peaceful place to undergo a trial. However, Lindorn had chosen to activate the trial while he was facing a terrifying opponent like Cao Yu. This move truly befuddled everyone here. Is that fellow planning to use the same trick again? Lan Ying and the rest were startled, before anxiety rapidly emerged in their eyes. Cao Yu was not Songshan. Furthermore, Lindorn was only able to pull it off previously because he used it in an unconventional manner. At that time, no one had realized that he was secretly undergoing a Nirvana tribulation. However, the current situation was different. Not only was Cao Yu far stronger than Songshan, the wind-lightning trial also caused a huge disturbance. Therefore, any fool would know what he was up to. Did he really think Cao Yu was dumb enough to forsake such an opportunity? Beside them, Liu Bai, Mo Ling, Su Kuei and the rest exchanged looks with each other when they saw Lindorn's actions. There were traces of worry in their eyes. Big brother Lin Jiao, isn't this too risky? Su Ru's tiny face was filled with worry. After hesitating for a moment, she was finally unable to resist any further as she turned around and asked Little Martin. Little Martin narrowed his eyes as he stared right at Lindorn's seated figure. He could not fathom the meaning behind Lindorn's actions as well. Summoning the wind-lightning trial a truly suicidal move. He is not an idiot. He must have his reasons for doing so. Let's continue to observe. There is no point in speculating at this point. Little Martin could only say these words at this point in time. When they heard his words, Liu Bai and the rest laughed bitterly before they lowered their heads and sighed. Regardless, it was too late for them to worry. All they could do now was to believe in Lindorn. He, a truly bold kid. He actually dares to summon the wind-lightning trial at such a time. In the sky, the elite practitioners from the West Xian region stared peculiarly at Lindorn as they commented. Big brother Cao, looks like he is deliberately provoking you. Chang Wei released a weird laugh. Suddenly summoning the wind-lightning trial during a fight with Cao Yu. If this was not considered as a form of provocation, what else could it be? Cao Yu's face was calm while his gaze was fixed onto Lindorn. Even though he was slightly perplexed by the latter's actions, he did not plan to stop. Instead, he slowly lifted his palm before he calmly said, I do not know what you plan on doing. However, since you want to die, don't blame me. Boom! As Cao Yu suddenly closed his palm, a terrifying shockwave suddenly erupted from within it. The surrounding space distorted, before a black glow gushed out, transforming into a nearly 10 feet long black spear. Meanwhile, a peculiar symbol faintly hovered on the tip of the black spear. Swoosh! Cao Yu did not hesitate at all. His eyes turned cold as the black spear instantly shot forward. Tearing through the air, it carried a terrifying shockwave that was powerful enough to destroy a 5-yuan Nirvana stage expert as it shot towards Lindorn like lightning. As they watched Cao Yu's killing move, everyone's hearts rose. The black spear was extremely swift and it appeared before Lindorn in a flash. However, just as that black spear was about to release its destructive power, a blood-red figure appeared like a phantom and suddenly jabbed out with its copper-red fist. It was the Blood Soul puppet. Boom! An astonishing force unfurled in mid-air. Even though the Blood Soul puppet was able to block the black spear, its body was also thrown backwards. In fact, one could even see a deep scar on its copper-red fist. Evidently, even with its powerful defenses, the Blood Soul puppet was still wounded by Cao Yu's attack. Fortunately, the Blood Soul puppet was unable to feel anything. Therefore, it would battle until it was completely destroyed. Lin Dong calmly observed this. However, his eyes remained as still as unmoving water. In fact, he did not even show any indications of getting up. Instead, he cupped his hands together and his hand seals changed. Boom! As his hand seals changed, his majestic mental energy surged once again. At the same time, the thunderous roars caused by the storm clouds grew increasingly terrifying. The wind-lightning trial has become stronger. The sudden change in the wind-lightning trial was immediately detected by the crowd. Immediately, all of them exclaimed in shock while the doubt in their eyes grew. Evidently, they did not understand why Lin Dong had chosen to release more mental energy to stimulate the wind-lightning trial instead of trying to restrain its power. The strength of this wind-lightning trial has already surpassed the second stage. There were some experts here who specialized in mental energy. When they saw the undulations from the storm clouds, they were able to sense which stage the trial belonged to. Humph! A vicious expression faintly flashed across Cao Yu's face. It was clear that he was secretly worried about Lin Dong's peculiar actions deep within his heart. Immediately, he ferociously took a step forward and flicked all 10 of his fingers. The black glow in the horizon trembled, seemingly filling the sky as it formed into countless black light pillars which rained down onto Lin Dong. As the light pillars swept forth, the Blood Soul puppet's sturdy figure once again appeared in front of Lin Dong. A resplendent blood-red glow erupted from within its body as it protected Lin Dong like a glowing shield. "Watch me smash your Blood Soul puppet to pieces." Cao Yu was similarly frustrated by the Blood Soul puppet. Immediately, a cold glint flashed across his eyes as the black light pillars instantly howled forth and rammed into the Blood Soul puppet. Thump thump thump. A terrifying shockwave immediately erupted on the Blood Soul puppet's body, while waves of berserk energy frantically unfurled. As the black light swiftly disappeared, the Blood Soul puppet's body appeared once again. However, this time around, there were several startling wounds on its body. Several cracks began to spread across its body, while its blood-red glow had significantly dimmed. Evidently, even with its powerful defenses, it was no longer able to remain completely unharmed after taking so many attacks from Cao Yu head-on. At this rate, Lin Dong's Blood Soul puppet will not last for long. Lan Ying and the rest wore grim expressions as they gazed upon the state of Lin Dong's Blood Soul puppet, while their fists involuntarily tightened. Judging from the current situation, it seemed like Lin Dong wanted to use his Blood Soul puppet to buy him some time. Could the Blood Soul puppet really buy him enough time to undergo the wind-lightning trial? Rumble. While Lan Ying and the rest were anxiously worrying in their hearts, the storm clouds in the sky started to churn even more violently. Meanwhile, the shockwaves contained within grew increasingly terrifying. The wind-lightning trials are stacking? While the commotion within the storm clouds grew increasingly terrifying, a shocked cry suddenly erupted on the mountaintop. An expert who specialized in mental energy cultivation stared in shock at the sky. His expression was as though he had seen a ghost. Stacking the wind-lightning trials? When they heard his words, Lan Ying and the rest's heart skipped a beat. What did he mean? Could it be that Lin Dong did not only summon one wind-lightning trial? Was he instead stacking them together? When their thoughts reached such a point, their expressions turned extremely interesting. Stacking them together was not as simple as adding them together. The wind-lightning trial has reached the third stage. He plans to undergo both the second and third stage together. On top of the mountain, another person shrieked. That's not right, the wind-lightning trial is still becoming stronger. My God, this lunatic. Does he plan to stack 3 trials together? Not even a 6-seal symbol master can handle that. A series of shocked exclamations continuously sounded out on the mountain top. Furthermore, each time a voice sounded out, Lan Ying and the rest's heart would violently twitch. Stacking 3 trials together? Such a power could probably squash a 6-yuan Nirvana stage expert to pulp. What was Lin Dong planning to do? Rumble. In the sky, the storm clouds manically churned. Meanwhile, the lightning snake coursing through the clouds grew from its initial thickness of an arm to its current several feet width. From a distance away, it looked as if a mini lightning dragon was flying within the clouds. Little Martin lifted his head, a strange look in his eyes as he stared at this sight. Following which, he turned to look at Lin Dong, who was seated below the storm clouds as a flash of inspiration flashed across his eyes. Is he planning to borrow the strength of the wind lightning trial? What a lunatic! Thunder boomed across the sky in an astonishing manner as the storm clouds closed in. The thunderbolts flashing within the clouds made it look as though apocalypse was approaching. The storm clouds had spread till they covered 100 feet radius, while a berserk power seemed to simmer within it. Even the powerful 5 yuan nirvana stage individuals were now deathly pale. They could sense a true power of destruction from within the clouds. All of them clearly understood that any defense of theirs would be futile in the face of these storm clouds. Stacking trials. Everyone had now figured out Lin Dong's intentions. He was actually planning on enduring 3 wind lightning trials at the same time. Lunatic. Everyone spat out this word in their hearts in response to Lin Dong's crazy move. They knew that no one with any semblance of normality would dare to perform such a feat. Of course, an ordinary person would not even have the chance to perform such an act. The amount of mental energy required to summon 3 wind lightning trials simultaneously was frightening. What this meant was that the mental energy of the individual summoning the trials must be continuously and firmly suppressed. Moreover, no mental energy can leak out midway. This must continue until it was sufficient to summon 3 wind lightning trials, before allowing everything to completely erupt. If Lin Dong was able to endure these 3 stacked wind lightning trials, Lin Dong's mental energy would rapidly soar until it reached the 4 seal heaven symbol master level. Of course, if he failed, he would immediately be blasted by this incomparably violent wind lightning trial until nothing remained. The destructive force that eventually erupted from the stacking of 3 trials was far from what that of 3 separate trials could compare with. Is his head broken or something? The experts from the Western Xian region also watched the thunder clouds spreading across the sky with strange expressions on their faces. The terrifying fluctuation emitted by the storm clouds caused their hearts to jump in fear. They were truly unable to comprehend just what Lin Dong was attempting to do. With the appearance of these storm clouds, there was perhaps now no need for anyone to attack him, as once the lightning struck, even ashes would not remain. Just what is he trying to do? Chang Wei also frowned deeply. He wanted to laugh and mock Lin Dong, but there was now an unfathomable pressure in his heart. He was no fool after all, and Lin Dong's actions were really a little too strange. As the saying went, there was definitely some strange reason behind any abnormality. Lin Dong definitely had his reasons for doing so. However, that final aim of his was temporarily unknown to all of them. Big Brother Cao. Chang Wei's eyes looked towards Cao Yu at the front, catching sight of Cao Yu's somewhat dark face. He could tell that the latter was feeling a little uneasy. Was it because of this fellow before them? The frown on Chang Wei's brows deepened. His heart felt constricted from holding his breath. Clearly, he did not expect that they would be so affected by a brat who was only at 4 yuan nirvana stage. Big Brother Cao, shall we watch and wait for the time being? The storm clouds are too terrifying. That brat will definitely be unable to receive the trial with his strength. If we attack hastily, we might end up being tricked. He might be attempting to use some kind of tactic to goad us into attacking, making us help him resist the wind lightning trial while he gains from it. Chang Wei's eyes flickered before he spoke in a low voice. Cao Yu's eyes were narrowed. His gaze was firmly fixed on the figure seated below the storm clouds. Currently, Lin Dong had already shut his eyes, appearing as though he was making preparations to endure the trial. Cao Yu's eyes were dark and solemn. What Chang Wei said was indeed quite a wise plan. As the saying goes, dealing with the ever-changing by not adopting any change and quietly wait for Lin Dong's subsequent move. However, why was it that he felt a faint unease? We cannot wait any longer. Cao Yu's eyes flashed as they suddenly hardened. He was a decisive person, hence once he made up his mind, he would not hesitate at all. Immediately, he took a step forward and his hand began to form seals at lightning speed. Heaven sealing array, heaven locking symbol. A deep cry suddenly exploded from Cao Yu's mouth. After which, a shocking ripple spread out from within his body. The entire space swiftly became distorted, and in the next instant, numerous crack lines started to emerge as enormous black light chains shot out explosively through the cracks. Crash! Black light chains rushed out in a flash. They swiftly crossed each other in the sky, swiftly transforming into a black symbol. Swoosh! The enormous black symbol rushed out, immediately enveloping Lin Dong from all directions, while a terrifying aura swiftly unfurled. Lin Dong's tightly shut eyes slowly opened when this enormous black symbol rushed over. Immediately, the corners of his mouth quietly lifted into a slight arc. Is it finally here? The enormous black symbol swiftly flew into the territory of the thunder clouds under the watching eyes of the crowd. However, when this symbol was within a 10-foot radius of Lin Dong, the billowing storm clouds in the sky suddenly shuddered. A split second later, silver lightning lit up the entire place. A loud rumbling sound accompanied countless large lightning pillars as they frantically poured down. Rumble. Thunderbolts rained downwards. Countless thunderbolts exploded on the enormous black symbol as wave after wave of indescribably wild and violent ripples spread outwards, forcibly striking the black symbol as it swiftly dimmed. The frightening might of the three stacked trials had finally been displayed at this moment. Crack! The black symbol grew increasingly dim. Finally, numerous cracks appeared, spreading until the symbol burst apart with a loud bang. Humph! Cao Yu's body jerked back when the black symbol was blasted apart as a moan was emitted from his mouth. He had clearly suffered some backlash. Immediately, his face became incomparably dark and solemn. To actually summon 3 stacking trials. What a brilliant tactic. However, aren't you afraid that you will not be able to deal with this monstrous thing that you have summoned? Cao Yu's expression was dark and twisted as he cried out. I do not need to deal with this wind lightning trial because it will be used to finish you off. Lin Dong looked at Cao Yu's twisted face. A strange smile appeared on the former's face as he softly replied. What shameless boasting! Cao Yu's pupils shrunk slightly, however, a sneer formed on his mouth. He did not believe that the storm clouds would attack him if he did not launch an attack. Currently, the one who was about to face the trial was Lin Dong and not him. The strange smile at the corners of Lin Dong's mouth grew wider. He immediately raised his head and looked at the storm clouds that now spanned several hundred feet as both of his hands slowly spread apart. Immediately, waves of black light surged out, transforming into a gigantic black hole above his head. A unique power suddenly unfurled from the black hole. Suddenly, the thunder cloud in the sky shrunk. In the next instant, the thunder cloud shook violently and countless enormous thunderbolts once again descended. This time around, their target was Lin Dong. Devour! The monstrous lightning appeared as a strange glint as they were reflected in Lin Dong's eyes, while he spread his hands and softly muttered. Boom! The enormous black hole above his head suddenly began to rotate rapidly as waves of pulling force erupted. The lightning that originally rushed towards Lin Dong suddenly changed direction at this moment and charged into the enormous black hole. Rumble! Countless thunderbolts poured into the black hole, however, it did not cause any explosion. Only a loud rumble was emitted. Meanwhile, below the black hole, Lin Dong was completely unharmed. Everyone was astonished when they saw this sight. No one had expected that Lin Dong was actually able to receive the terrifying wind lightning trial. Big Brother Cao, the situation is not quite right. We should call Big Brother Mo Tong and the rest guarding outside this space. Chang Wei cried out in a low voice, his expression drastically changing as watched this mysterious scene. Cao Yu's face was dark. His eyes were glued onto Lin Dong, who remained perfectly fine in the face of the sky full of thunderbolts, while the unease within his heart grew increasingly greater. After pondering for a moment, he finally nodded his head. Chang Wei hurriedly took out a light ball from his Qianquan bag after seeing Cao Yu nod, before quickly shattering it. Immediately, a golden light rushed out, burrowing into the space around it before disappearing. Shitty brat, once Big Brother Motong's group enters, only death will await you even if you really manage to endure the 3 trails. A fierce glint flashed across Chang Wei's eyes as he watched the golden light disappear. This was a black spatial region outside the ancient battlefield realm. It was possible to enter the Eastern Xian region if one broke out from this place. At this moment, 10 figures quietly sat within this darkness. Their bodies released an extremely astonishing ripple, a ripple that far exceeded that of Lin Dong or even Cao Yu's group. Swoosh! A golden light suddenly rushed into the darkness. After which, a human figure grabbed it. Big Brother Motong. It seems that Cao Yu and the others have met with some trouble. The eyes of the person who had received the golden light flickered as he raised his head and looked towards the front. A skinny figure was seated at that spot. On his lap was a large black blade. Oh! The shut eyes of the figure gradually opened. He frowned a little and said, "We need to guard this place just in case." He paused after his words sounded out before shaking his head and continuing, "Never mind, I will go. The rest of you will remain here." While he spoke, he slowly stood up. However, just as he was about to move, his pupils suddenly shrunk. He turned his head only to see a ray of light suddenly appear within the darkness as a sharp aura seemed to tear open this space. At the edge of where the light had torn the space apart, a dozen figures rushed in. A graceful figure led them, while a clear and elegant laughter faintly echoed from a distance. "Ha ha, Motong, you have traveled a great distance from the Western Xian region to this place. Our Eastern Xian region should at least perform our duty as the host right." The expression of the man, who carried a black blade, slowly turned grave at this moment. His eyes contained a fear that could not be hidden as he stared at the figure at the very front. "Ling Qingzhu. I did not expect that even you would be dispatched." Thunderbolt raged between the sky and land. Countless lightning pillars wildly poured from the storm clouds, before they smashed towards the figure under it from every direction. However, each time these lightning pillars were about to touch that figure, it would be dragged into the enormous black hole that was rotating rapidly above. Finally, it would transform into a rumbling muffled sound that was emitted from the black hole. Lin Dong has actually received all those thunderbolts. All the gazes on the mountaintop contained a rich shock as they watched this scene. They were really unable to believe that Lin Dong had actually blocked the wind lightning trial, that even a 6-yuan Nirvana stage expert would be afraid of. How is this possible? Liu Bai and the rest muttered to themselves. However, a dense joy surged into their eyes soon after. Lin Dong had once again shown them what was called a miracle. That strength from the black hole appears to be the swallowing strength of Dao Tai sect. Could it be that Lin Dong had really completely snatched the strength of Dao Tai from Songshan when they fought previously? It seemed so. What a frightening fellow. Little Martin heard many private conversations from all around him. A strange expression also flashed across his eyes as he watched Lin Dong in the sky. He laughed softly. This fellow is really unpredictable. With little Martin's understanding of Lin Dong, he was naturally aware that the black hole was not the so-called Dao Tai strength. Instead, it was the true devouring power. However, in order to avoid exposing the devouring ancestral symbol, Lin Dong had purposefully used the Dao Tai strength to act as a cover. Moreover, little Martin was even able to feel a kind of familiar ripple from deep within that black hole. It was that of the mysterious stone talisman. Clearly, Lin Dong had borrowed the strength of the two great mysterious objects, the devouring ancestral symbol and the mysterious stone talisman, in order to receive the frightening lightning bolts. Otherwise, he was truly unqualified to do so. Borrowing the combined strength of 3 wind lightning tribulation and using it as his own, little Martin curled his mouth slightly. His heart released a soft praise. At this moment, even he could not help but feel amazed by Lin Dong's plan. This fellow was indeed extremely cautious. He had actually hid a final move that even he was unaware of. Little Martin clearly knew that Lin Dong had definitely kept this tactic since a very long time ago in preparation for an emergency. This fellow always loved to keep a trump card that caused one to be incomparably shocked. These trump cards would at times even surprise someone as old and cunning as little Martin. After these years of training, Lin Dong was clearly no longer that tender young man from Qingyang town. His scheming and mentality had already far exceeded those of his own age. While other young people were acting arrogantly in their youth, this fellow was incredibly cautious and had prepared various trump cards. This was because he clearly understood that he had merely originated from a low-rank empire and he did not possess a strong background. Little than Little Martin, there was no one else he could rely on. Moreover, in Little Martin's case, there were many occasions whereby the latter was unable to unleash his full strength due to his status as a celestial demon Martin. Therefore, Lin Dong could only rely on himself most of the time when faced with a perilous situation. Little Martin smiled gently. This fellow was always able to perform something that an ordinary person could not even imagine. Most importantly, he was able to succeed most of the time. Big Brother Cow, what should we do now? Chang Wei and the rest had a somewhat ugly expression as they watched this scene in the sky. Their hearts were clearly a little uneasy. With the wild violence sweeping across this place, they were unable to even establish the formation. What are you afraid of? I don't believe that with my strength at the peak of the 6-yuan Nirvana stage and the heaven-sealing array, I am unable to finish off even a brat at 4-yuan Nirvana stage. Cao Yu spoke in a cold and stern voice. Chang Wei and the rest widened their mouths upon hearing this but ceased saying anything else. Cao Yu was right. He was still able to use the strength of the heaven-sealing array. That was a genuine pure yuan treasure. Its strength was sufficient to restrain the heavens and earth. It was likely not impossible to deal with Lin Dong. Rumble. While they were conversing, the thunderbolts in the sky became increasingly wild and violent. Lightning glow lit the entire place. Countless thick thunderbolts were wildly pouring into that enormous black hole. Kai Kai? With an increasing bout of thunderbolt pouring into the black hole, even the surface of the black hole began to vaguely possess layers of lightning arcs. Those lightning glow directly seeped out and headed towards Lin Dong below. Immediately, Lin Dong's sleeves were directly turned into dust. Even his skin revealed a charred black color wherever the lightning glow flowed past. What a wild and violent thunderbolt strength! Lin Dong's eyes became slightly focused as he felt the piercing pain that was transmitted from his hand. This was merely some of the remnant strength that had seeped out from the black hole. He really did not dare to imagine just what kind of scene it would be if the black hole was to burst apart at this moment. It was likely that not even his ashes would be left behind. Clang! Lin Dong exhaled a deep breath of air. He glanced at the storm clouds in the sky that did not show any signs of weakening. His body trembled slightly and numerous green light surged out from within it. After which, layers after layers of green dragon scales began to appear on the surface of his body. Finally, it transformed into a dragon scale armor that protected him within it. Kai Kai? These lightning glows would be reflected upon making contact with the dragon scale. In this way, it greatly reduced the intense pain that he was suffering. The devouring swiftly increased in intensity. This kind of devouring continued for nearly 10 minutes. At the end, the 100 over feet radius around Lin Dong was basically filled by this incomparable wild and violent lightning glow. Even Lin Dong's actual body had an uncontrolled and fierce lightning glow lingering over it. Under the erosion of this kind of lightning glow, even the dragon scale, which possessed such a strong defense, was gradually turning charred black. There was vaguely a sign of it cracking apart. Every pair of surrounding eyes could only watch this scene in bewilderment. No one could even block it at all. This was because everyone knew that the surrounding of Lin Dong's body was already permeated with wild and violent thunderbolts. If anyone dared to unleash an attack, those wild and violent thunderbolts would be attracted by that attack. That person would end up attracting the lightning and destroy his own body. Bang! Another enormous thunderbolt spluttered out from the thunder cloud. After which, it was absorbed into the huge black hole. Immediately, there was vaguely some lightning arcs shooting out from which the black hole. From the looks of it, even the black hole formed by the devouring power was somewhat unable to continue devouring. Lin Dong's gently shut eyes also opened at this moment. His eyes looked through the lightning curtain in front of him and saw Cao Yu's gloomy face below. The corner of his mouth slowly lifted into an icy cold smile. After which, he slowly raised his hand and pointed towards Cao Yu in the distance. His hand seal changed in the process. Buzz. The enormous black hole in the sky gradually wiggled as Lin Dong's hand seal changed. The mouth of the black hole was turned downwards. It appeared just like a black cannon mouth that was locked onto Cao Yu from a distance. Creak creak. Lightning glow flickered within the black hole. A kind of annihilation-like fluctuation quietly spread apart. The attack had yet to be unleashed, but the space in front was already distorted. Just when the black hole was locked onto the direction of Cao Yu, Zhang Wei and the others behind instantly felt the skin on their heads become numb. A kind of dense feeling of danger rose within his heart. Putting on an act. I want to see just what can you do to me. Cao Yu's expression was dark and solemn. Fury surged within his eyes. After which, both of his hands formed a seal with lightning-like speed. Immediately, the surrounding space began to wiggle wildly. Soon after, numerous shocking black light directly surged out from the space. It became just like numerous large black dragons that intersected in front of him. Heaven's sealing array. Black light crisscrossed with each other at a lightning speed. It actually vaguely transformed into 1,000 feet large black array. There appeared to be some mountains appearing on the array. A kind of extremely shocking fluctuation spread apart in a partially visible manner. The array hung in the sky and appeared incomparably strange. When the array wiggled, it seemed as though the entire place was about to be suppressed by it. The lightning glow within Lin Dong's eyes flickered. There appeared to be some thunderbolt gathering within it. He watched that black-colored array that was formed and a wild heat slowly rose on his face. It was the first time that he had controlled such a large and terrifying force. Lin Dong's hand was gently extended out. His finger pressed on the empty space. After which, a soft sound also rumbled and resounded amidst the thunderbolt that permeated through the sky. Go? A word sounded. The entire place appeared to have turned silent instantly. That rapidly rotating black hole suddenly came to a halt. Within the serene darkness, bright sunlight like lightning glow suddenly appeared to be like a volcano that had been pressured for numerous years as it shot out with lightning speed while being accompanied by an earth-shaking momentum. Bang! The entire place trembled. 1,000 feet large lightning tore through the sky, appearing to be a real lightning pillar. It displayed a terrifying manner that could destroy everything in its path, as it violently struck onto the black array in front of countless pairs of stunned eyes. Dazzling lightning tore apart space like an ancient thunder dragon. Accompanied by an indescribable madness, it flashed across the sky. Finally, it slammed heavily onto the black array under numerous shocked gazes. Boom! The entire place appeared to turn completely silent at the moment of impact. Soon after, an overwhelming lightning glow and black light violently swept apart in a wild manner from the point of collision. It was just like a luxurious lightning fireworks. Lightning flashed like a falling star that spread over the sky. It erupted in all directions before drawing countless number of orbits in the sky. Finally, it landed in the mountain range, bringing about a loud rumbling sound. Everyone was startled when they saw the shocking collision in the sky. A fight at that level had far exceeded the territory that Lin Dong and Cao Yu could reach. Just a little remnant ripple from that collision was sufficient to crush a 5-yuan Nirvana stage expert until nothing remained. Lan Ying and the rest on the mountain top were dazzled as they stared at the lightning glow fireworks in the sky. Destruction filled that beautiful scene. What an abnormally fellow, Qing Feng inhaled a deep breath. His tone was filled with shock. He was really somewhat unable to imagine that such a terrifying attack had come from Lin Dong, whose strength was merely that of 4-yuan Nirvana stage. It is likely that no one in this 100 Empire War is able to receive this attack. This fellow had actually hidden so deeply. Lan Ying was touched as she slowly nodded. It was likely that even Qin Tian would not dare to receive this attack by Lin Dong head-on. From this, everyone could tell that if the two of them were to engage in a normal fight, it was likely that the champion of this 100 Empire War would definitely be Lin Dong. The genius experts from the various empires beside Lan Ying also nodded. Even these arrogant individuals had no choice but concede after witnessing Lin Dong's attack. While everyone were adopting praising expressions, Qin Tian, who was supported by the arm at the side, had a completely gloomy expression under his lowered eyes. His fists were tightly clenched. There was an extremely dense jealousy and dissatisfaction in his eyes. With his talent, he had been looked up by countless number of people ever since he was born. Even in this 100 Empire War, where numerous talents had gathered, he also stood at the peak and overlooked all his competitors. However, he did not expect that he was actually directly defeated by Cao Yu from the Western Xian region with a single strike. On the other hand, Lin Dong, who had come from a low-rank empire, had become their savior. At the same time, he had also become the most dazzling person in this 100 Empire War. This position originally belonged to him. Qin Tian clenched his teeth with great force. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction and hatred. Bang! Lightning glow raged wildly in the sky. Finally, it crazily struck onto that enormous black array. That dark array also trembled intensely under the frightening attack from the lightning glow. Waves after waves of black light continued to spread. However, before it could form an attack, it was scattered by the wild and violent lightning glow. Cao Yu had an extremely gloomy expression as he looked at the black array trembling intensely from behind it. He could clearly sense the terrifying pressure that eroded over the array. That kind of pressure caused even him to feel shocked. Big brother Cao, the array does not appear to be able to block that fellow's attack. Zhang Wei and the others looked at the trembling dark array in fear. Without realizing it, the teasing expression that was originally on their faces had completely disappeared. Instead, a trace of horror vaguely appeared. Out a low roar. Where are Luo Tong and the rest? Cao Yu clenched his teeth. Regardless of how unwilling he was, he no longer dared to act arrogantly at this moment. Big brother Luo Tong and the others have been blocked. It seems like our plans were leaked. Those super sects experts from the Eastern Xian region have begun to infiltrate this realm. A person beside Zhang Wei spoke with a pale face. The experts from the Eastern Xian region have arrived here. Cao Yu's expression changed slightly upon hearing this. They did not bring many people along for this mission. After all, if a large number of them were to invade this space, it would definitely be detected by those super sects of the Eastern Xian region. Although the Eastern Xian region sects continued to fight repeatedly amongst themselves, the Western Xian region was a common enemy of theirs. Once these super sects were to discover that they had entered this ancient battlefield, those super sects would definitely dispatch experts over. At that time, their group would definitely end up being outnumbered. It is all thanks to this damn brat. Zhang Wei gritted his teeth and said. If it was not because of this person's sudden appearance, it was likely that they would have already finished the formation. How else would they end up in this kind of miserable situation? Big brother Cao, the array is about to be broken. Cao Yu's expression was dark and solemn. He was just about to think of some countermeasure when a sharp voice was suddenly emitted from the side. It shocked Cao Yu to the point of hurriedly turning his head. There was indeed numerous slight cracked lines appearing on the large array that hung in the sky. This was a sign that the array was about to collapse. That bastard, Cao Yu involuntarily cursed. He did not expect that with his 6 Yuan Nirvana stage strength and the heaven-sealing array, he was still unable to block Lin Dong's attack. Cao Yu's heart felt quite stifled. He clearly knew that it was impossible for Lin Dong to beat him if they were to fight head-on. Furthermore, he could only stack these 3 trials together once. In other words, Lin Dong only had one opportunity. However, it was this single opportunity that caused him to feel incomparably stifled. Crack! However, regardless of how he felt suffocated or furious, the crack lines on the black array did not reduce because of it. Instead, they swiftly became dense. There was a slight cracking sound vaguely being emitted. Crack, crack, crack. The cracking sound became increasingly loud. A moment later, the black array had already instantly been covered by cracked lines. Quick, withdraw. Cao Yu's eyes immediately shrunk upon seeing this scene. He was aware that he was unable to block any longer. All he could do was to clench his teeth unwillingly, wave his hand and withdrew quickly. Chang Wei and the rest beside him were also frightened until their expressions changed. They were aware that if the wild and violent lightning glow was to pour over, they would definitely end up dead. All of them immediately retreated hastily. Bang! When Cao Yu's group chose to flee, the enormous black array finally reached its limit. Finally, it emitted a bang under the attack from the lightning glow and completely burst apart. He has actually shattered the array. Lin Dong has won. Everyone on the mountain top watched this scene. A wild joy surfaced on their faces immediately. They were aware that Cao Yu's group, which had lost the protection of the array, would definitely lose their most powerful tactic. The battle between Lin Dong and Cao Yu also finally ended with the former gaining the upper hand. The array was shattered. Monstrous lightning glow wildly penetrated through it like a lightning dragon. After which, it contained an incomparably wild and violent momentum as it rushed out crazily. Bastard, it's not over yet. Cao Yu and the others, who had retreated explosively, looked at the wild violence of the lightning glow. Immediately, their expressions had become extremely ugly. Let's attack together. Cao Yu let out a low roar. Chang Wei and the others could only clench his teeth upon hearing Cao Yu's low roar. He prepared to maneuver his Yuan power to attack with the others. Swoosh! Just as they were about to attack, however, that incomparably wild and violent lightning glow suddenly whistled past their head. It actually did not attack them. This scene caused Cao Yu and the rest to be stunned. They immediately turned their heads around. He wants to rescue the experts from the super sects. The lightning glow tore through the empty space like a thunderbolt in front of the frightened eyes of Cao Yu's group. After which, it directly smashed towards the black seal in the distant sky. The interior of the seal prison currently trapped the old man from the Path sect and the others from the super sects. Lin Dong clearly understood that defeating Cao Yu and the others at this moment would not resolve the problem. He must help the old man from the Path sect and the rest to escape. This was because they could only completely resolve the problem after they escaped. Otherwise, just one random person from Zheng Zhong's group would be able to deal with all of them, who belonged to the younger generation. Cao Yu, what are you doing? Zheng Zhong, who was doing his best to trap the old man from the Path sect and the rest from outside the Black Seal prison, was also shocked by this sudden attack. His expression became green as he cried out explosively. They were currently having an even match with the old man from the Path sect and the others. Any little external interference would cause all their effort to come to naught. Cao Yu's expression was pale white. His face was filled with bitterness. He had also done his best, but he was ultimately defeated by Lin Dong's crazy move. Bang! Lightning glow wildly poured over the Black Seal prison. Immediately, the entire place trembled. After which, Cao Yu saw numerous crack lines begin to surface on that seal prison. It is over. Cao Yu's heart immediately sunk when those crack lines appeared. He was aware that the operation of their Western Xian region would likely end in failure this time around. The main reason for the failure was actually because of a little fellow, who was only at 4 Yuan Nirvana stage. This video will end here.